High sixth graders, are you hanging in there or are you just barely hanging on? Well, if not, this is going to be the perfect video for you. No, probably not. But I'm praying for you. Hang in there. We're going to see each other soon. And I just want you to know I understand that it can be kind of hard, but I hope that you're having a good time at home anyway with your family. So today we're going to review counting, and we're going to start with 2 songs that we should know for something that's coming up called 6/8 time. So these 2 songs are in 6/8 time. We are going to sing them, and then we are going to leave them and do some counting practice. So you will want to have a piece of paper and a pencil ready. Maybe those notes that you've already been writing on for music, that would be a good idea. So make sure you put me on pause and get that if you haven't already. All right, let's sing. Let's do a little bit of warming up. Okay, we're going to stand up and we're going to do this with our hands, and we're going to use our owl voice. We're going to use our tummy. We're going to open up our mouth like a big O, and we're going to go like this. You can watch me first. Okay, so we inhale, and then we let it out when our arms get up. Ready? Relax your shoulders. Big breath. And again. Okay, and you could probably go a longer time than me, but we're gonna start singing. So let's do sailor, sailor on the sea, sailor, sailor on the sea, sailor, sailor on the sea, what treasures have you brought for me? Okay, let's tap or pat our lap. Ready, go. Sailor, sailor on the sea, sailor, sailor on the sea, sailor, sailor on the sea, what treasures have you brought for me? Good, that's a short one. And then wonderful, merciful Savior. Da, 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 da. So think about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, ready, go. Wonderful, merciful Savior, precious Redeemer and friend, who would have thought that a lamb could rescue the souls of men? Oh, you rescue the souls of men. Deep breath. You are the one that we praise. You are the one we adore. You give the healing and grace our hearts always hunger for. Oh, our hearts always hunger for. Good job. I did do that a little bit higher, but that was for the ladies and for the guys so that they could go down an octave and be somewhat comfortable. Unless you wanted to go up there with us, guys, and that's no problem too. All right, let's review our counting rules briefly. I didn't write them down, but what number do we always start with, and where do we start? We start with the number 1, and we always start counting at the beginning of the measure. Right, so we look at the time signature to tell us how many beats there will be per measure as well, keeping that in mind. So the top number tells us the number of beats per measure. The bottom number tells us what kind of note gets 1 beat. All right, so we have 4 beats per measure, and the quarter note, or ta, equals 1 beat. Okay, we put our 1 here and our 1 at the beginning of the next measure. Okay. Today's rhythm is going to be a little bit more difficult than last week's rhythm because we have to look carefully at the rhythms to see what to put under them. And that was one of the rules in the middle there. So we're going to proceed in what kind of order? Numerical. And when we get to the rhythm that has a difficult way of counting it, we're going to explain that a little bit. So let's go to the next rhythm. Since ta is 1 beat, we know the next beat we need to proceed to the next beat. So we go to the next number, which is 2. All right. Now, 2 is worth 1 beat. right? However, a tom, a dotted quarter note, is worth how much? 1.5. All right, so we have to treat this 1.5 as 3 equal pieces so that we can name each of them. So we think about breaking this up into 3 equal pieces. And so a dotted quarter note is 1.5. So what 3 kinds of rhythms that are all the same would you put in a dotted quarter note so that 3 of them would be 1.5? They each have to be the same amount. This plus this plus this equals 1.5. Hopefully you said half, half, half. So these are eighth notes. So we have to think about 3 eighth notes in a row. So 3 eighth notes in a row would be something like this or that. And so we would call it 2 and then we go to the next beat, 3. So a dotted quarter note is tricky. It's made up of 3 parts. And so we're going to put 3 things under it, 2 and 3, in parentheses for the and 3 because we don't hear the next part of that. We just hear tom. We don't hear ta, and so we're going to say 2. All right, 3 is an eighth note, so that means that it's only halfway done. So the 3 signifies a half a beat. Each of these signify a half a beat. So we have to go on to the next rhythm thinking about the remainder of 3. So the other side, the other half of 3 is going to be and. Okay, so keep in mind that the numbers and the symbols that you put underneath the rhythms all are symbolizing the number of beats in each of those rhythms. Okay, so now an and stands for a half a beat. If I want to continue something like this up here, I could put 3 and. I could draw that just like that one too. It doesn't have to look like that. So 3 and, meaning that 3 is done. You have a half a beat here, half a beat here, half and a half equals 1 beat. So our last beat of the measure is 4. Half is done. So the other half of 4 must be and. How is that? Okay, now put me on pause and see if you can count out the next measure. I'm going to trust you do it right now. Okay, are you back? If you didn't pause me, I hope you know how to do this easily. Okay, so ticka ticka is our next one. Another one where what we put under it is going to symbolize each rhythm. So each rhythm, each 16th note is 1/4 of a beat. So what we put under it has to show 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. So if we're on 1, we can't get to 2 anywhere in here because this whole thing is 1 beat. So we call them individual things. Do you remember what those are? Well, remember that the and is in this one. It's on the first and the third one to show a TT hidden in there. But the TT now broken up. So 1 E and Hopefully you got that. Okay, we're done with 1. Going on to 2. Okay, remember that 2 is not just 1 beat if it's under an eighth note by itself. So the eighth note by itself is a half a beat. So now the 2 does not stand for 1, it stands for a half. Therefore, we're not done with 2. We need to finish that up. So we can't do anything more here. We have to go over to the dotted quarter note. And what is next but the and? Okay, the and stands for a half a beat. A dotted quarter note is 1.5 beats. So again, go back to those 3 equal parts in a dotted quarter note, in a tom. We have an eighth note, eighth note, eighth note, half, half, half. Therefore, we go and, which is a half a beat. Now we get to our next number, which is 3. That has to be a half a beat also. So then the other part would be and. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Put that in parentheses. And then 3 and means a half and a half, means 3 is done. So we end on 4. Whew, was that hard? That's what it's like to count with rhythms that are half a beat or not symmetrical, maybe you want to call it. Let's clap this out and count it. First of all, we're going to clap it and count it with everything out loud just so we know how it goes. So it's going to be ready and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4. I imagine you need that another time. Let's try that again. Ready, go. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4. Okay. Now your hands didn't really go with what you were saying on these parentheses. That made it a little harder, didn't it? Let's say it without saying the and 3. Ready, go. 1, 2 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 4. Oops, sorry. Let's do this one again, sorry. 1 and a 2 and 4. Okay, now, don't clap it this time and just say it with me and see if you can feel the 8th note constantly going by. Ready, go. 1, 2 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 4. All right, and let's clap it one more time. Ready, go. 1, 2 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 4. I find it helpful to bounce my voice on the parentheses parts because then I can feel each increment going by. Okay, good job with the counting. What number do we start with? 1. Where do we put the 1 in the measure? At the beginning, middle, or end? Beginning. What do we have to look at to tell us the number of beats per measure? Time signature. Top number of the time signature means beats per measure. Bottom number of the time signature means the type of note that gets 1 beat. We proceed through the measure looking at the rhythm to figure out what numbers to put underneath it. And we finish with what number? 4? The total number of beats per measure, because we're not always going to have 4 beats per measure. Good job. I think this would be a good thing to do a couple more times this week if you have the time just to practice. And next week we're going to start some more 6/8. It's going to be super fun. I'll see you later.